Hello friends, welcome to C# Intermediate to Advanced tutorial. In this tutorial sub-series, you are going to watch GroupBox. So in the next few sub-series, we are going to look at container controls one by one. Since here we are starting the container control GroupBox, first we will learn about the containers basic. Then in the second video, we will learn about the GroupBox example. Then in the third video, we will discuss about the form design, and finally we will implement the example. So let's start our learning with the C# container. So this video is for containers basic. In the next video, we will discuss about the GroupBox example. So the picture you are seeing here, so this is the example we are going to create in these 4 videos. So towards the end of this GroupBox sub-series, we will learn how the container control works. GroupBox is the best example to start with. So that's how when we starting about C# container, we are learning the GroupBox control as the sub-series. I mean the first sub-series. So first let us state we have a Windows form. So this Windows form is considered as a top level container. Now let's assume one more container inside this form control. Let's say this is a container. Let's consider we have one more container inside this form. It can be anything like a panel or a GroupBox. So since in this sub-series we are going to discuss about GroupBox, let us consider this one as a GroupBox. So this GroupBox can act as a container as well as a control. So let's also state. So now we will consider that this GroupBox contains a name, a text box, then age. So name and age are labels, and these two are text boxes. So the GroupBox contains these controls. We will also consider that the form contains other controls like add, remove, ID, then some text box in it. So if you see here, this is the hierarchy. So the first one is the Windows form. Windows form contains GroupBox. So GroupBox is a container. Then it contains other controls also. So let's say name, age, these two text box as controls A. This one as controls B. So now the relationship is Windows form is a container. We can tell this as a top level container. So the top level container contains one more container called GroupBox. So that's how we marked here. This is container and this one also a container. So now if you consider this GroupBox for form, this GroupBox is a control. So Windows form treats this GroupBox as a control, and the Windows form treats these controls as a normal control. So these are all control, and this one is also a control. So in top level container Windows form perspective, it contains control 1, that means it is a GroupBox, control 1, control 2, 3, 4 and 5 controls. But when you consider these controls A, so So GroupBox sees name text box, age text box as controls in it. So in Windows Form perspective, GroupBox is a control, and for controls A's perspective, GroupBox is a container. So GroupBox is a container for these controls, but GroupBox is a control for the form. So here the relationship is Windows Form. Windows Form is the container. Then this container contains GroupBox, and GroupBox contains control CA. And if you see, the Windows Forms contains other controls also. So that's what called controls B. So if we want to set a property, say for example, for Windows Form, let's say we are setting a font or font color as red. So if you set this color, so Windows Form is a container, so it contains GroupBox as well as a control B, right? So the red color is applied to all controls in control set B. So that means add, remove, ID, everything will have this same red color. Similarly, since Windows Form sees this GroupBox as a control, the red color is set to this container. So what happens now, this is a container, so all the child controls hosted inside this container will inherit the property. That means it will inherit the property red. That means name, age, and these two will also hold the red color. Alright, now let's say the GroupBox we are setting a color green. So now what happens, the green color is not applied to add, remove, ID and text box, but it will be applied to name, age and these two text box. Why? Because these controls are contained inside a container GroupBox. So if we set green color to GroupBox, then the green color will be applied to all these four controls. So let's also state that we set ID label with the yellow color. So here if you see, we are setting the color to an individual control. So if we set it for a individual control, then that takes precedence and the color will be set. So this is the hierarchy. So if you want to set some color, first the color, so when Windows is applying the color property, so first it applies the color from top. That means from the top level window, it applies the color to all the controls. Then GroupBox overrides the control red color to green. So green color will be applied to all these. Then finally yellow will be applied to the individual control. So the net result will be red color for add, remove and this text box. Then green color will be for name, age and these two, and ID will be displayed in yellow. So that's how it will be applied. So if I mark this 1, so initially it will be applied like this. For everything 1 will be applied. That's the sequence. For all these control we will get 1. Then since we are setting green color to this one, this is overridden and all this will have green color now. Finally, we are overriding the yellow color for a specific control ID. So this is also overridden and it will have 3. Now you can read. So red, 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 green, 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 ID, yellow. So that's how the sequence works. So here we just took one property, say for example the foreground color, and how it get applied. So the same way other properties also applied. Say for example if you do enable or disabled. So these are all the frequently used one, right? We will enable the control or we will disable it. So for example, if you enable GroupBox, or if you disable a particular GroupBox, all the controls inside that GroupBox will get disabled. So this is because of that inheritance. So the controls contained inside the container will inherit the property of the container. So that's all here in this container basic. So to recap it, a container can act as a container as well as a control. Say for example here GroupBox. GroupBox is a container for name, age and these two text boxes, but the GroupBox is a control for the Windows form. Similarly, the Windows form is considered as a top level container. A top level container is solely a container and it cannot act as a control. So it just contains other controls. So that's why we call this as a top level container. GroupBox is not a top level container. So that's how it acts as a control as well as a container. In Windows form perspective, it's a control, but for these controls, it's a container. So that's all the basics of C# container. In the next video, we will talk about the GroupBox example. That's all here in this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.